All right, y'all. We're back again. Antonio's OBS truck. I hadn't filmed anything all week. I've been out here just kind of cleaning up, throwing a bunch of stuff away, and trying to give me a little bit more room to work. Me and my kid, we jumped on it. We threw a bunch of stuff away and got some stuff moved around, swept up a little bit. And it's now Sunday, and I haven't filmed anything. So we're gonna jump back on this today. I'm gonna snatch the rear end out. I've done some measuring, and I have decided on 3 3/4 inch narrower on each side, and that's where I'm gonna how much I'm gonna chop the rear end. I'm also gonna move the leaf spring perch over a 1/2 inch to give me the clearance that I need for the brakes and everything. And I hope that's the right number. We're gonna find out. But if I just jump in on this thing and snatch this rear end out, I'm gonna set it on my fab table and weld it to the table, because I have to weld those perches back on at the same angle and all, and I'll show you that. I've got a new fab table, and I've got an old one, so I'm going to weld it to the old one. And we'll get this thing picked up, get this rear end snatched out. It shouldn't be too bad. Everything's just kind of finger tight. Tighten a few bolts on it, but most of them is just finger tight. So get it snatched out and show you how we're going to jig it up. So I got this thing picked up, got the wheels snatched off. First thing I'm going to do is pull these wheel woods off and put those back in the box to keep them from getting messed up. And then I'm going to get my table over here, get it mocked up on it, or not mocked up, but slid up under this axle so that I can start taking it loose. I'm probably just going to take the bottom of this loose, and then these 2 big bolts, and let this swing out of the way on both sides, and that should allow the axle to come out once I take the center link there out. So shouldn't be too bad of an ordeal. Snatch it right out pretty quick. None of the brake lines or anything are connected, so, well, actually, I'm sorry, that brake line over there is still connected. I got to take it loose, but it won't take just a second. Alright, now that super boring time lapse is over with, we can actually get back to work and show you some stuff. We got the rear end out. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get this thing level, and I'm going to weld some 1x1 from the rear end housing to the table so that it doesn't move. Because I got to get all these angles back on all this stuff right. And normally when I'm doing this, I'm building a 3-link or 4-link or whatever, and I'm bagging the truck. So I usually don't really have to worry about it as much, because I'm going to set all my angles before I weld anything. But on this one, it's all bolt on, and this has to be back in the exact same spot. So also these brakes have to come off. The other side didn't have any brakes, so when I pulled it loose, it's done like this. That's the reason it done that was the weight of these drum brakes. They're heavy. So I'm going to get figured out how much I need right here to make this even. Cut me 2 pieces and flip this thing over, do a little grinding, tack it up to the table, and we'll be ready to go. said I was going to use 1x1, but I found some 1.5" quarter wall over in the scrap pile. So I just grabbed it. It was like 8.5 inches long, so it was perfect. All I had to do was knock the little end off there where it's been cut with a torch. I'm going to take the grinder real quick, clean all this up, and we're going to get ready to weld to the table. Alright, I got this thing up here, mocked up on the table. I got my stands. I had to dish this one a little bit. I just took the grinder and made a cup in it so it would fit around the axle because this side was a little higher. Just probably to do with the table because this is a Harbor Freight cheapo and I didn't really expect it to be 100% true anyway. But we got it dead level and then we got it on the angle finder. It is, well, it was 0.0 when I started filming. Now it's 0.3. Oh, hold on, I gotta keep adjusting then. Alright, finally got zeroed out. I had to keep grinding on this end. I thought it was this end, but it ended up being this end. Got it dead level on the level. And we're about to weld this dude to the rear end and to the table. Dang spider web out here. Alright, I got it welded, it can't move, it's very solid. I got my cardboard, my Sharpie, and I'm going to do some measuring and writing down so that I can make sure I get all this back just like it was. First thing I want to do is measure the angle of this. Let's see. Driver's side axle approach is 15.5 degrees. Alright, let's go measure the other side. Passenger side axle approach is 14.6 degrees. That's kind of weird that they're not the same. Even though it's welded on the table level, they're not identical. That's kind of weird. All right, now I need to find my tape measure. It's over here. There's a bump stop perch here. I'm going to remove it, and it's going to be gone for good. But I need to measure this axle perch over, and from the end of the axle tube to the edge of the perch at the top is 13 3/4. And that is the driver's side. There's 13 3/4 to Measure this side. Width is also 13 3/4. Well, at least those two match. So fastener side is 13 3/4. Now, that measurement is important so that I can put this back exactly where it was, because this is a bolt-on kit. But I'm going to move this inward 1/2 of an inch. So whenever I get ready to weld these on, they will be 13 1/4 from the housing. And the reason for that is I'm really tight on clearance, and I need that extra 1/2 inch right here. And it's gonna put those bushings in a slight bind, but a 1/2 inch is not gonna be that big of a deal, because of the way this kit's made. It's gonna flex. It'll be fine. So also, these don't look like they're welded straight. They look like they're welded at an angle. So I'm gonna do some checking on that real quick. And from that to the flange is 4 1/16. From that to the flange is 3 7/8. So yes, that is definitely correct. Check this out. 4 1/8. Yes. This perch is not welded on this axle tube straight, either side, and they match. So they're supposed to be like that. Alright, so let's draw me a diagram here. Under the axle, tube, the perch is where we hook it this way. And that was 4 1/16, and this was 3 7/8. Alright, so got that. And that is the driver's side. Passenger side is going to be a mirror opposite of that. And first it's going to be on quickly like so. And it's going to be 4 1/16, 3 7/8, and this is passenger side. Alright, all the fun, easy stuff is over with. Now it's time to get dirty and start cutting. So I'm going to cut these off first, and then we're going to narrow the rear end, figure out where we're going to cut it at. I want this to be directly over the top of my weld seam. That's just an extra brace to put it back on. Normally I'm fighting constraints and I'm trying to shorten it out here. This time I'm gonna shorten it and then put this right over the weld seam. So I need to figure out my cut mark. My cut mark is actually going to be somewhere in this neighborhood right here. So we'll figure that out once we get everything cut. So, all right, let's get dirty. Alright, so what feels like hours, which is probably literally an hour with the grinder. I got everything knocked off the axle tube. I got these perches cleaned up best I can for being cut off the plasma, both of them, so they fit down on there nice and even. And yeah, so we're gonna get the Sharpie out. We got our measurements. We're gonna lay out some marks, and I'll come back and explain to you what I did and why I did it. Alright, so I got this marked out, but before I go any farther, I got to pull the center section out. This thing's getting completely rebuilt, so it's not vitally important for me on this job to get everything back perfect, but most of the time I have to get them back perfect. But what I'm going to do is pop these two caps off right here, get the main caps off. I'm going to pull the center section out. There's shims on each side, and I'm going to keep up with where they come from. So I'm going to pull all this out, and I'm just going to lay it somewhere in the orientation that it comes out. That way I don't get it mixed up or messed up. And then when Eric goes to rebuild it, he'll know how it originally was. So, and we'll take brake cleaner and clean this housing out really good before we put it back together. But we still got a bunch of welding to do, so no point in cleaning it yet. But give me just a second, I'll show you why I marked what I marked. All right, so I got all this marked. Here's where I'm going to take out my 3 3/4 on each side. We're going to cut this cut first, because naturally if you cut this cut first, then you're going to have to try to cut this while only holding this piece, and it's going to suck. So cut this one, then cut this one, both sides. So the way I came up with my measurement was, hang on. All right, so the way I came up with my measurement from the center of the, from the lip of the housing over is 14¼ on the dot. The perch, according to our measurements earlier, was only 13¾ of an inch in. All right, I need to move this perch in a ½ an inch, so that would put it at 13¼ is where the edge of this perch needs to be from this lip, if that makes sense. This is 2 inches wide, so I want my cut mark to be under this in the center. So this perch is going to be this, not exact, but so it's going to be here ish and angled just a little bit. So that would put my cut mark right up under it. So once this comes in, it'll be welded, and then this can be welded over the top of it to brace it back up. This is not necessary, but if you got an opportunity to do that, it's not a bad idea. So I'm gonna start cutting these, and then once I get them cut, I got to bevel them and get the jig out to put through the center section. I've already pulled this center section out, so let me get these cut, and I'll be back, and I'm ready to go take a bath. I am filthy. So, well, we're having loads of fun. Yay. Daddy always said there'd be days like this where you hate it, but it's necessary. Also, I forgot to do my straight line so I could line these ends back up, so I just cut me a little bit of tape out, made my mark, and I'm gonna put me a little bit more tape back over it on both ends, and I also marked them driver's side and passenger side so that I didn't accidentally get those mixed up. I'm gonna get this tape and get these things cut. Alright, sorry, it's a little noisy in here. I got fans going. It's 96 today, but I got the end chucked up in the vise here. I'm gonna knock this seal out, and then I'm gonna flip it over and knock the bearing out the bottom side. Those have got to be out because my pucks for my narrowing tool are kind of like sleeve fit into here, and the bearing has to be gone. So I'm gonna get those knocked out real quick, and we're gonna get this thing jigged up and start welding. Also, if you're doing this and you're trying to get the bearing out with a screwdriver and a hammer or whatever from the backside, you know, normally this one's on the truck, you can't get to the backside, so you have to use a puller. But a piece of 2x2 quarter wall fits in there perfect, and I just hit it one time and it fell out. So that's the easiest way I have found to get these out. Hit it, bam, hits the ground. Let's do the other side real quick. Let me see if I can film this for y'all. 0.6 mode. Bearings out. Alright, so I got this thing mocked up. I got my pucks in the center with my main caps. Got my rod running through them. Comes down. It's got a puck that goes in the end of the axle. And I got a lock collar on there to keep it from moving. I got it all tacked. I got my lines lined up. Got this beveled out real good, both ends. Got my line lined up there. Got my tack. About to go ahead and start welding this thing up. I'm gonna weld pretty much all the way around, and then when I cut it loose, I'll weld the very bottom. But I'm gonna go ahead and get that welded up, and then get my perches back on, and get all that welded, and then I can cut it loose and flip it over and weld the bottom side. All right, I got these burning in. I just single passed it. I had a big nice V there to fill it up. I just filled it up. You can grind these down and smooth them if you want to. Me, this is not one of those things that I really want to take a chance on weakening at all, so I just leave them like they are. If you're building a show winner where you're going to powder coat the rear end and you don't want to see the welds, go for it. I'm not doing it. So now I got to get these up on here and mocked up and refer to my measurements, and then we'll be back in just a second. All right, so we got these tacked on. We got our 3/16 wider gap at the back than the front, the way it was from the factory. I got them tacked. They are 13¼ They were 13¾ from the factory, so we've moved them in a ½ an inch. As you can tell, if we didn't, it would be getting right there. Sorry, KK's cutting grass, it's a little noisy. But anyway, we got this. It's gonna be a little tight getting in there to weld it, but we're about to weld this guy out, and it'll be ready to pull all this stuff out and start putting the center section back in, clean it out real good with some brake parts cleaner, get it cut loose for the table and get it ready to go back in. All right, so got everything welded out. I had a couple little spots here where I nicked it with the cut-off wheel when I was cutting the shock brackets off. Put a little weld on those, knocked them back down. I got to put the center section back in. I do not have axles yet. I'm going to call tomorrow and order those, but I wanted to tear it apart and make sure that this axle rear end was a 30 spline and not a 28. I've run into that before with Charlie's truck, and I want to make sure that I get the right axles for this thing. So I'm about to count those before I go inside, and tomorrow when we get back, we'll paint this housing, put the center section back in, get our axles ordered in the morning, and get this thing ready to go back under the truck. And then we're gonna see what kind of clearance issues we got. And I may go inside and take a shower because I'm filthy, and then come back out and work on it some more, get some of this metal shavings and junk off of me. It's extremely hot out here right now though. Oh, all right, so I got the diff cleaned out, sprayed brake cleaner all down the axle tubes, put a big wad of rags in there, pushed them through with a long screwdriver, done that 2 or 3 times. Then washed it out. What I normally do is I put it up on jack stands, and I'll just pick this one up like 2 or 3 notches where it's leaning, and I'll do this side where it all run down. I have me a drain pan under here, so over there I had to move it so I didn't blow myself up. I learned that lesson from Dylan. He blew himself up one time. Brake cleaner is extremely flammable and will blow junk all over your shop. Ask us how we know. But anyway, I got the diff put back in. This thing is going to get 456s put in it when the truck's done, because it's getting a big motor in it. Hey, KK. Come on over. Anyway, so let me see the back of that shirt. Virginia's for low riders. Huge shout out to Crawford. Appreciate the shirts. Anyway, so I got this put back together. I did torque all this down like it was supposed to be, because even for some reason, if they don't ever take it to have it built, at least it'll be back together as good as it was. And then yeah, so I'm gonna wire wheel this thing up real quick, paint it black. It's about 9 o'clock at night now, so that way when I get in tomorrow, the paint will be dry and I can get back started on it. Camera shot today? Say hey. All right, y'all, it's another day and we're back with this junk. We got the rear end painted yesterday. I got it back on the table, back under the truck, and I figured I better update y'all. So I'm fixing to get this thing hung, get everything bolted up. Hopefully it all clears. Fingers crossed. Arthritic fingers as far as I can cross them. So I'm gonna work on getting this bolted back up. I'm not gonna time lapse it because y'all already seen enough time lapse in this video to kill a horse. So I'm gonna just get it hung, and I'll come back and show y'all in just a minute. Also, while I'm bolting this back together, I'm gonna make a ride height adjustment. I moved it down to here, from here. I moved it down, it was in the top hole, moved it down to the 3rd hole on both sides. I'm still moving this one. I just want to show you the difference. Should be about another inch of drop. We had a pretty good gap from here to the frame, and we haven't put the bed back on yet, but that's gonna get us a little lower in the back, get that wheel tucked in there, and then we'll adjust from there. If we need to go down more, we still got some more adjustment. If we need to tighten it up a little bit, we can tighten the coil up. It is pretty much completely loose right now. So I am going to put a little bit more preload on this coil before I put it back in, because this corner of the frame was a little lower when it was sitting on its weight on the ground. And I noticed that this coil ever had less threads than the other one showing. So I'm going to tighten that up a little bit, see if that gets it level, and then go from there. I still got to weld this cross member in the back, and I need this frame level before I weld it in, or it'll forever be crooked. So just want to show you the ride height change. Also, if you followed this build, you know that on this front stabilizer arm, the misalignment spacer, I was shorted one, and I called QA1. They sent me out a couple of them and took care of it, no questions asked. So I appreciate that for them. And I'm just going through now. I got it hung up, and I'm going through and tightening all the bolts because nothing was tight. And these are my last 2 to tighten on the rear suspension setup, is this stabilizer bar. And then we're going to go back and put some weight on it, on some jack stands or something, and see if we can get the rear end centered in the frame first, and then go from there. All right, got everything tight, got these mocked up. Just wanted to kind of see how tight it was, and it is extremely tight. So I got these run back down. I got the wheel wood on. I ended up having to pull the bottom bleeder out to get it on. I got it on there with it, but it was digging into the bar, so I stopped. I'm going to see if I can get a plug to put in there because we don't really need it. We need this top bleeder, and if I can get a plug, that'll be fine. Got the screws in. This one touches the bottom bar, but once you get the top one out, you can finagle it and get it out. But I don't have any axles yet, obviously. I just ordered those today, so it's going to be probably end of the week before I get those in, maybe next week. But I am going to go ahead and put seals and bearings in this axle while I got it at this point. And then, yeah, keep grinding on it. All right, so I got to put these new bearings in. I've got it started at the end of the axle. And the best thing that I have found to use is the old bearing. Because it fits, but it won't go in there far enough to get stuck. We're going to get it started. And she's all the way in, just like that. Make sure it still spins. And then we have got new wheel seal. The bearing is a 51307 Master Pro. And then the seal is a 4762N. We're going to put that in. Get it a bear. Kind of tap it, get it started. If I can. It's not working out for me. Take this whole block of wood here. And voila. New axle seals in. Bearing still spins. Everything's good. We're going to go do the other side. And yeah, it's a lot easier to put them in than it is to take the old ones out. Because taking the old ones out the regular way can be a pain with a puller. So. Alright, so the brake line bracket is supposed to bolt behind these on these two bolts that holds the caliper bracket on, but as you see, we're having clearance issues. I didn't address this earlier when I was mocking everything up because I didn't know how narrow it was. I mean, you can measure it 1,000,000 times, but until you get it narrowed, it's kind of hard to tell. So what I'm going to end up doing, I've played with this one. I went and got the one for the other side, tried to figure out what I was going to do, and I'm going to modify this bracket. I'm going to cut it off right here and get all this powder coat off, and I'm going to grind this paint off, and I'm going to weld this bracket to that perch somewhere along in there, and then my brake line will go down through there, and then I'm going to have to build brake lines on the rear end. So I'll just build me a brake line, come out right there with a sharp 90 and tear out, go towards the diff. So that's going to work just fine. So I'm going to cut this off right here and get my little die grinder, get all that ground off, weld that thing up, do both sides, and that'll be another issue out of the way. I got these two bolts pulled out because I was like, oh, I'll just move it to the back. Actually, sorry, wrong one. I was like, I'll just move it to the back until I realized it was going to hit there, and this is a different offset, so that didn't work good because I'm an idiot. All right, made me a trip to O'Reilly's, got me a new rubber brake line for the back because this one is the OG original from 93 right here, and it looks a little shot. Got that. I took the bleeder screw I took out of the caliper, and I got a couple brass plugs for that. I took this new brake line for the other side so I could make sure I had the thread pitch right, and then I got two pieces of brake line. This is 3/16. I got one that's 40 inches long and one that is 30 inches long, and that's a little too long, but I'm going to try to bend them in a way to make them work so that I don't have to shorten them, because I hate trying to do a double flare because I suck at it. So first things first, I'm going to get this brake line pulled off the frame, get the new one mounted, and I'm going to mount it right here to this top screw and let it ride. Alright, so we got the brake line brackets welded on. That worked out good. We got our new brake line. Just bend it. Use the factory hold downs. Runs right up to the distribution block. Like I said, I got a new rubber brake line. I've got to mock up the brakes on the other side like this so that I can build the brake line for that side. This one, I measured it and it needed to be like 24 inches long, and the shortest one they had was 30 inches, so I had to take 6 inches out of it and double flare it. And I actually got a double flare the first try. What are you making a face for?
Somebody's grilling pork chops.
Right. Somebody's grilling pork chops. Us?
No. You don't smell them?
Nah, I don't smell anything. Anyway, so I got to mock these brakes up, like I said, and build this other brake line, and the only other one, it needed to be like 34 inches, and this one's 40, so I'm sure I'm going to have to double flare it again. I will not show you how to double flare on a video because I suck at it. There are 100 more better videos than anything I could ever show you. So I'm going to get this mocked up, and yeah, I'm about ready to wrap this one up because getting pretty tired. Hey, quit digging holes in my yard, dog. Throw this hammer at her. I wasn't gonna get her.
Look at her nose.
Throw it at you next. I was threatening you win. I ain't never threatened nobody in my life.
You ain't never lied either, have you?
Nope. That top said I don't lie. I hope this side works like the other side did because I never mocked this side up, to be honest. I just assumed that it was going to be the same. You know what happens when you assume, right?
They say you would make an ass out of you and me, but I think it's just going to make an ass out of you.
Make an ass out of somebody. So far, so good. They don't want to watch me put all these bolts in, I promise. Why is this moving? It's just a brace. It should be not moving. Alright, so we got the brake lines finished up. Look right here. Comes in from the bracket we welded on. Uses the factory clamp, spin it up. Bam. Goes up over this weird 3-link mount. Over into there. Same thing on this side. On this side, I just kind of bent it down. I didn't put like the nice little bend like I did on the other side. It works. And then I got my 90 going up into there. And my brakes are on. This side. The other side is missing a bolt because the bottom bolt is hitting the link bar. I got it in on this side. I had the caliper kind of angled and I got it through there. If I was putting it on with the brakes, it probably wouldn't go that easy. So what I'm thinking about doing is taking this bar and I'm going to move it up one hole, and that'll give me room to get this in. I got plenty of room for my brake line, and I'll be right with the world. And in theory, it should put this bar pretty well flat with the ground at right height. So, what else? What else, bud? What else we do? Oh, and all those brake lines are 3/16. I ain't got no fancy bender. I got this little thing right here I ordered online one time. Those 3 different sizes, and yeah, that's it. And a Sharpie, and a lot of patience screwing it in and taking it out. And I double flared both lines on the first try. I'm so proud of myself because that never happens. I always have to like 4 or 5 tries, which means whenever they go to bleed the brakes on the thing, both of them's gonna leak because I got it right on the first try. All right, so I ordered axles today. They won't be until the end of the week. I have something that I need to work on this week, so I need to get this thing where I can move it. But I also don't want to tear it apart 3 more times to put the stock axles back in, roll it out, blah, blah, blah. So I may just take the tractor and pick it up and move it. I don't know yet. Or I may just wait on that work till next week. We'll figure it out. But, yeah, so I need the axles. We got to build a fuel cell mount in the next video. Like I say, install the axles, finish up the brakes, rotors, and all that stuff. And then, put the bed back on, make sure the wheels fit. May have to trim the fender lips, I don't know. And I also have to put a brace in the back of this frame and get this frame level because it is not level at the time. The right side is a 1/2 inch lower than the driver's side. And I adjusted that coilover a little bit more to match this one. I'm hoping when I put the weight down on it, it sits more level now. I'm hoping that's all it was. But all right, I've been rambling for what, like 3 minutes now?
Right at it.
Yeah. All right. Let me get out of here and y'all come back for the next one. Hopefully the next video is not going to be on this truck. Who is it?
Mackenzie.
Mackenzie's calling. All right, let me get out of here and answer this phone. I'll see you on the next one.